Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is The Spirit of Vinyl. My name is Craig. I'm your host, and I talk about my records and the record collection that I call The Spirit of Vinyl. My collection has its own energy, I feel like. I feel like all our record collections have their own energy, so mine's telling me to talk to you guys, so here I am. Now, I know mostly if you guys have watched my other episodes, that I mostly talk about like hard rock and heavy metal and that type of stuff. But that's not all I have. Although that's a large part of my collection, I do have other styles of music. There's some country, which I don't really listen to at all because I don't really care for country music. But one day, I'll play some of it, and I have played some of it, but it's not my forte. And I have some new wave and some synth music and some punk and stuff like that. So this week I wanted to talk about something completely different. And when we're talking about completely different, nothing gets more different than this. Talking Heads Remain in the Light, or Remain in Light. There's no "the" in there. So Talking Heads Remain in Light. This is a 2013 repress, Rhino Records, originally released in 1980. And it's got this the inner sleeve is essentially the same as the front cover, just kind of like a negative of it. On the other side, it's got, song listings and different things like that. And it's still, you can see that red right there. Those are essentially the airplanes on the back of this. So it's kind of just a redo of the cover. I had this cool little sticker. What do you guys do with these, by the way? What do you do with your... Sorry, that was upside down. What do you do with your hype stickers? I first started putting them on the sleeves that I bought, like I did with this one, peeling them off the shrink wrap, because I don't really care for shrink wrap. I feel like over time it starts to get brittle and it starts to shrink down. It could cause problems for me, I think. So I like to just take it off and put it in these sleeves. And I was taking my hype stickers and putting them on there. Now I've gotten to the point where I'm taking the hype stickers and cutting them out and just putting them inside and saving them for later. What do you guys do? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know. The record itself, I bought this record. This record, it's a repress from 2013. I picked it up like 2 months ago. I've only played it like twice. So it's in near mint condition. The whole thing's in near mint condition. I bought this record. I was at the record store. You know how it is. You wander around, you're looking for certain things. You don't always find what you want, or you're not finding anything that you want. And I saw this pop up, and this was in there. So I bought it. I gave, I think, probably about $30, which is average. It looks at Discogs. You can buy them anywhere. They're like $30, having it shipped to your house. You probably find it at your local record store for about the same price. I bought it because of Once in a Lifetime. That's the reason I bought it. It's got Once in a Lifetime on it. That's the main reason I bought it. And there was nothing else there that I wanted that day. So I thought, well, fuck, Talking Heads, people talk about the Talking Heads. And I'm aware of, I came of age in the 80s. We were all aware of Burning Down the House and Once in a Lifetime and Take Me to the River and all those songs. So I thought, well, why the hell not? And I bought it, and I've played it probably once or twice since I've owned it. But I've never really listened to it. So preparing for today's show, I picked this Talking Heads album to play, and I sat down and just did nothing else but actually listen to this record. And I gotta tell you, I have no idea what the fuck I was listening to. I don't have anything like this in my collection at all. I really don't have anything that sounds like this at all. I am not sure what I was hearing or what I was expecting. As I was listening to it, lots of Afro beats and different things coming in and a lot of electronic sounds and everything else. And it's all mixed together very well. And I started reading up on it and their process of how they recorded it and what they went through and everything else. And it was very interesting. And the album itself is very interesting. It's, like I said, it's completely different. I'm used to hard rock and heavy metal and rock and roll, riffs and breakdowns and stuff like that. This is nothing like that. This has, like I said, you can hear African influences, you can hear punk influences. David Byrne's lyrics are sometimes, some of it's just like nonsense. Some of these songs sound like nonsense, especially side one. Side one is very avant garde. Side two starts with Once in a Lifetime, and it sounds more like the Talking Heads that we know. But at the end, the last song called The Overlord was just, I don't know what it was. It was like blew my mind. It's like Pink Floyd meets punk meets electronica all mixed together. I wasn't sure what I was hearing or what I was listening to, but I really, really enjoyed it. And that's the interesting thing about record collecting is when you do something like this and you go out and you buy a Talking Heads album, when you listen to, when your favorite band is Megadeth and Kiss, and then you're listening to Talking Heads, and you normally listen to Pantera or whatever, listen to Talking Heads is completely different. It opens your mind up to all these different things. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's completely different from anything I've ever heard before or ever listened to before. Of course, I've heard the Talking Heads before and just the radio stuff, but this has only got one radio hit that we're all aware of. You don't know any of these other songs unless you're a fan of the Talking Heads. I had never heard, I've heard it before, but I'd never really sat down and actually listened to it. Just put down the fucking phone. Don't let any distractions. Just listen to what the music was doing and listening to how it was played and how it was produced. It was produced by Brian Eno, who is famous for that type of electronic sound thing and making noise music that seems, weird in its own and layering things on top of each other in order to make a cohesive sound out of it. Taking loops and weird sounds and mixing them together and looping it to create music. And Brian Eno and the Talking Heads were doing that at this time when they were recording these albums. And it's actually very interesting to hear and listen to all the sounds coming in from both ears and what he's doing. And then, like I said, David Byrne, some of his lyrics, he's just like scatting and just making stuff up. And I read about it, and he was, during the time they're recording this album, he had writer's block and couldn't really come up with any lyrics. So he just started throwing shit together to see what made sense. And some of it's very bizarre and out there, but somehow it all makes sense. And this album is fucking great all the way through and through. I mean, give it a listen. If you're not a Talking Heads fan, like I wasn't really a Talking Heads fan. We all liked the songs we heard on the radio. We came of age in the 80s. We saw the videos, and, David Byrne was a weird guy and he wanted his MTV and all this stuff. But to actually listen to it, hell, I was a teenager. I wasn't going to spend money on the Talking Heads when there's a new Cinderella album or a new Rat album that's coming out, or The Crew or Megadeth or Metallica or whatever. I'm not going to spend my money on the Talking Heads. Now that I'm older, I'm buying different things, and I've kind of got into that. And that's what this album does. We talk about the spirit of what records mean to us around here. And what this one is done and is part of a group of records that I have that I've kind of gone back to that era of the 80s and picking up bands like the Talking Heads and the Go-Go's and the Bangles and these other things that I sort of liked but wouldn't spend my money on when I was younger. So now I'm buying that music and getting a better appreciation for it. But honestly, I don't know if I have anything else that sounds like this Talking Heads album. And this is the only Talking Heads album I have for now, because as of listening yesterday, I'm all in. I'm going to be buying all of their music. They don't have, they have like 8 albums. I'm going to start looking for them and trying to get them all, because if anything, if it sounds like this, I'm in. That's it. I mean, it's weird to say. I look back at my younger self, would kick myself right in the nuts for wanting to listen to this kind of shit, because that's not fucking metal or whatever. And as I've gotten older, I've expanded my horizons and I've started to accept these other genres of music. And I'm enjoying that new wave sound of the 80s and the different things that are coming that came at that era. Now, as for like new music, still more into like newer, like heavy metal and rock and roll, not really into the pop stuff or whatever. But that's, it is what it is. But as for going back in time, this record's 40 plus years old. This copy is not, of course. This is a 2013 repress that I bought like 3 months ago in 2023. So, but that era and what David Byrne and the Talking Heads were doing was They came out of the punk scene in New York as CBGBs, and it wasn't punk, not in that scene, but it was punk enough, and it's new wave, and it's electronic, and it's punk, and it's rock and roll, all kind of mixed together, and they formed this amalgamation that is the Talking Heads, and it's actually very, very good. It's very well written. The pressing, use Rhino pressings. Rhino knows what they're doing, so it sounds good sonically. It sounds great. It's got good output. All the mix, I don't know how the hell you mix all that shit, because it's not just guitars, bass, and drums. It's also electronics and weird sounds and all this other stuff they're putting together. And it came out very, very good. I was reading up on it, and the reason this one is out there is it's the magnum opus or whatever, the terms they use when people talk about music. This is the Talking Heads albums to have, And I'm looking at the other ones, and they've all got songs we all know, and I'm going to start buying the other ones. So to me, the spirit of vinyl on this record it's kind of turned me into a fan of the Talking Heads. And I know I'm late to the game and they don't exist anymore, but I'm going to buy the rest of those records and give them a listen. All right, well, that's pretty much it for me for this week. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think about the Talking Heads, So, yeah, go ahead, like, subscribe, write some comments or whatever. I really appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to me talk about the Talking Heads. Weird shit that I don't understand, but I'm trying to. So that's all we can do, is try to expand our horizons with our record collections and listen to different types of music so we don't get stuck in one genre. If you have 1,000 records and every single one of them is speed metal and that's all you ever listen to, that's fine. But there's so much other music out there, so much other styles of music that is good music. And this is one of those that is turning that on for me. So like I said, I appreciate you all listening. I'll talk to you all next week. My name's Craig, and this has been The Spirit of Vinyl. Thanks once again for listening, and have fun record shopping this week. All right, talk to you all later.